there's an IGG who said the thieves hide behind Museveni.
But there's someone out there asking themselves, why are staffs of parliament implicated in the corruption? What role did they play?
The staff of parliament that are now in prison and others are still being investigated were all people that were very close to the speaker and Chamu. That corporate social responsibility money, and that's what tells you that it was illegal in the first place to have a budget line like that, because it wasn't being put on accounts it should be put on. It was being put on the accounts of these people. What I know is that this money would be withdrawn and brought to the speaker.
I've also had rumors about Bank of Uganda be issuing this money. Many people are saying that most of this corruption could not have been occasioned just by the speaker herself, that it takes other financial institutions to be complacent. Can we talk more about the other institutions that were involved? Welcome to yet another episode of Agora Podcast. As usual, my name is Lowell, your everyday host. Now, in the few days past, we have witnessed the arrest of staffs of Parliament who are implicated in the corruption at Parliament that many think was occasioned by the Speaker of Parliament. However, we have an entity which has been showcasing this corruption, I think, for the last 2 to 3 years, which gave us, I think, documents which most of us call receipts that have always showcased this corruption that has been ongoing at Parliament. And today I'm proud to say I am hosting Agather Atuhaire, who has been at the peak of exhibiting or showcasing this corruption that many of us got interested in following. I'll allow Agatha to introduce herself.
Hello, good afternoon or evening or good morning, everyone. My name is Agather Atuhaire and I work with Agora Center for Research as the team leader.
We are glad to have you. The last time we were here, we had a very, it's not controversial, but a viral conversation. I think at the time there was the Speaker of Parliament election, or that's when they were starting to investigate the corruption at Parliament. And since then, a lot of things really have happened, from having a new speaker. Now we even have people that we talked about on the last... no, we didn't talk about the specific people that have been arrested, but we talked about the tendencies that happened in the 11th Parliament. Here we are with, I don't know if we have found the fruits for the work that Agora has been doing. That and more shall be discussed in today's conversation. I just want to start this conversation on a low note or emotional note, but I want to ask you, how are you? Not how are you, I'm fine, but what's your emotional state in terms of how you're reacting to the events that are happening around Parliament and generally around Agora and the work that you do?
Well, it's really hard to say how I am right now. It's a bit of mixed feelings. I mean, the affairs of this country sometimes are more overwhelming than usual. And they're always overwhelming, but sometimes they just tend to be more overwhelming, more frustrating. So was it last week when Nation Media Group was shut down, Matembe was abducted, Eliasu Nkwagu, 2 abducted, tortured, humiliated, photos all over the place, like things that are so depressing. And as we were trying to, see how to deal with that, the members of staff at Agora and some of its former members of staff were summoned by the CID for interrogations. It's ordinary, it wouldn't be a bad thing. I think it's okay for police to want to investigate something, even if you think it's not there, but at least you can be sure you have a police that wants to make sure everything is being done correctly. But in a country like ours, it's, knowing what we know, seeing what we see on a daily basis, also seeing what Agora has been going through since the year began, the purported suspension of Agora and other organizations, the freezing of accounts of Agora and myself. Up to now, they've never been unfrozen. So
your personal accounts which were closed have not been opened?
No. So something like that, summons like that make you think that's the other way of trying to frustrate Agora as an organization, but also silencers, and that is strange considering the other issue that you raise about the arrests we've seen at Parliament and how the Speaker of Parliament was dropped from the race to be re-elected Speaker, which was done by Agora. Most of this work done by Agora from first in 2024, then in 2025 when we did the investigation into the corporate social responsibility activities that were allegedly executed but were not, and then in 2026. So you'd think that the government is happy with the work that Agora is doing in as far as helping in fighting corruption is concerned. But when that happens and then we're also being harassed like this, you start to wonder what exactly is it? Why is there now a problem with people that have exposed and brought this corruption to light? So the mixed feelings now to end this is that there were so many depressing events the last 2 or so weeks, and the arrests of the people that were mentioned in corruption in Parliament last week made it feel like, maybe it's not in vain after all.
We would perhaps talk more about the corruption at Parliament and the particular cases, but maybe for the viewer out there who is here, not even listening for the first time, but they are telling them there would be not heroes or heroines, but activists who brought this corruption to the public being summoned. What was the experience? What were they asking you? Who was asking you?
So we were summoned at the offices of the Criminal Investigations Department, north. They said Kampala North or something in Kawempe. And there was the regional commander, I think, and her deputy. I didn't interface with the commander herself, but some of the people that had appeared earlier, I think, did. I interfaced with her deputy, and the questions they were asking that I got to know before I got there from the colleagues that got there before, that were summoned on earlier dates, were, why do you do what you do? Where do you get money to do what you do? Why are you not registered as an NGO? I think that was another question. How do you work with Spire yet he works somewhere else? And then you say, but someone working into jobs can't be a criminal issue to someone else for. So it was,
Did they seem to suggest that what you're doing is illegal, is illicit action?
I think that's what they wanted to sort of insinuate. And well, we told them to show us any law we are breaking. For us, you actually think that we are implementing Article 17 of the Constitution that, calls upon every citizen, gives them a duty to fight graft and wastage and many other provisions of the law that actually would want the defense of the Constitution. What article is that? Article 3?
Yeah, there's also, I think, Article 17, which makes it a duty of every citizen to fight corruption.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, so corruption can be there, but Article 3 can give us a duty to fight any other vice or practice that is against the Constitution or the rights that are guaranteed under the Constitution.
So maybe I would know, because I don't want to seem like I'm asking you an obvious question, because you say you ought to know, but there is a viewer out there who doesn't understand this mix, because the time you are summoned, even by when you are closed, it's the same time when government says they are fighting corruption, and I think they are saying they have started with Parliament, starting with the Speaker of Parliament and down to the staff, which is the exact same work you are doing. You even showcased these details before you. I saw you wrote to the IGG saying, please investigate, here is the evidence and whatnot. But while that is happening, at the same time, you are also being hounded. So I think someone out there, a viewer, is wondering, how can these two things happen concurrently? One would say that perhaps the people who exposed this corruption first would perhaps be maybe getting, I'm not saying you want that, but you'll be getting medals or being celebrated for doing that work, especially as citizens who are not paid by government or voted to do that kind of work.
I think so. I think that maybe the state finds itself in a dilemma where, on the one hand, maybe we are doing the right thing, but on the other, we are exposing the wrong things in the state. And the state has always wanted people to be in the dark, to not be aware of what's happening around them. The civic consciousness has always been lacking in amongst ourselves as Ugandans, and it was working for the state. So I think that now having a group of people that are sort of putting this information out there, but also mobilizing people to say demand for for accountability, demand for better social services. Maybe that is worrying the state. I don't know, but also we should also know that this whole fight against corruption has always just been like a song. Like it's not something they take seriously. There has not been political will to fight corruption since the NRM government came to power in 1986. And I don't know, I think it will sound now like a broken record, because we've talked about so many of these examples before, so many times where President Museveni has interfered with investigations. There's an IGG who said the thieves hide behind Museveni. There's, all these IGG people that have been in the office of the IGG have been frustrated. Then you have a new pressure group. I don't know if that's what it is, PLU, headed by his son, Kinerugaba, which now comes and says, they are going to be big on corruption. And if you also examine that critically, that's also not true. That's another lie. We can start with one of their senior members, Michael Mawanda, who was put in prison briefly over his role in misappropriating it was about 164 billion Uganda shillings for cooperatives. And, Mohozi himself started calling him a political prisoner, that he shouldn't be in prison. If this was someone who is very serious about fighting corruption, would have, put aside whatever relationship he has with Mawanda and allowed him to be prosecuted. When you see what has happened with the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, who was part and parcel of the previous Parliament that was corrupt, that they are now, you have already dropped one of the speaker as speaker, you have prosecuted the people that are involved, but you have shielded one of them.
So on that, I actually wanted to ask you, in this fight against corruption, the fight you've been fighting and up to now, and what the efforts that we are seeing that government or the state is saying, and to be direct in regards to Anita Among, do you now, or have you felt that you and the government, when it comes to fighting the corruption at Parliament and the person who was at the helm, do you feel that you're fighting the same fight?
No, I do not think we are fighting the same fight. I think that, for example, in the case of Anita Among, we helped them fight a political fight.
So while you are fighting corruption...
Yeah, they are using that to fight their own political fights. And for me, it didn't matter really. I think I even wrote about it on Twitter. Ugandans have been very appreciative of our work. So it started on the day that Anita Among was being raided. I mean, look at this case that Anita Among up to now has not been prosecuted. It's baffling. So anyway, Ugandans are saying, oh, Agatha and your team, thank you for your work. And I'm saying, I'm not going to kid myself that this is as a result of my work, really.
Entirely.
I'm going to say that for me, the lesson and what I feel is good from all this is that, people should know that power is transient. You're not going to be powerful for forever. Even those now that are using our work to prosecute selectively those that they don't like, even them, they will not hold those positions forever. And we have seen some of these cases. We have seen the Speaker of Parliament who had a whole 5 years maybe to do good in a way that would protect her, would protect every Ugandan, didn't. We have seen people like Birungi now, the former David Birungi, the former director of CMI, where he is. We have seen the hitmen of people like Among, Charles Twine, who was a CID officer. There's this guy called, what's that CMI? Called Amisa Ineviona. I mean, I don't know why people don't learn. So for me, that's what I liked about it, that it's selective. They have left people that should also be prosecuted, but let this be a lesson to everyone that, you're not going to be in that seat for forever. And I think that if people used those positions to make systems work, that would have protected.
Yeah. Maybe we'd also say a bit about the IGG, because I remember the social corporate responsibility man you're talking about, Agora had, written to IGG long time ago.
Yeah, so I think we wrote the IGG even in 2024 after the first, during the first exhibition. And there was a back and forth where the IGG said, no, she's not going to investigate because the Auditor General is doing that. And, both these offices have different mandates. The Auditor General can audit, but you as the IGG, you can also do your work of investigating corruption. They didn't, but of course there were always reports that for me, I believe to be true of money exchanging hands with the IGG's office as well, especially the IGG between the corrupt people we were exhibiting and the IGG. So
that IGG would carry out investigations and they're paid not to release the results or
not to even do the investigations in the first place. I know that one of the deputy IGGs has a child that was being sponsored by Antamon, for example. And I'm not going to say names now. I will wait when I have maybe documentary evidence to show that. But
you don't have the document.
I know that it is true. I mean, from where I've been getting other information, I was getting that information as well. So they didn't do anything. There was a lot of ping pong of, it's the Office of the Auditor General doing this. In 2025, when we followed the money to see where, there was irregularities at two levels with corporate social responsibility. The first is that it was irregular for Parliament, an arm of government, to have money being spent on corporate social responsibility. That's supposed to be for corporations, profit-making entities. That was one. Two, maybe three, by the way, 3 ways that it was irregular. The second one is that no one knew the criteria of who determines where money should be spent, what activity should be executed.
So there's no budgeted breakdown of this?
No, this was at the discretion of the Speaker. If she can decide to go.
And this was different from the nation's budget, or it was the same?
From?
The donations budget.
No, it was different. There's a donations budget and there is corporate social responsibility budget, which by this time, it's at around 60 billion shillings. Now, we say, okay, you have done all this, but which is even not in the law anyway. There has never been any parliament that is doing corporate social responsibility. But let's go and check if you actually did, because every voucher had activities supposedly carried out. We said, let's go and see if you actually carried out these activities. And they were not carried out. Nothing. Solar panels that they said they had taken to Arua Hospital were not there. A hospital, a health center in Namayumba that they said they had built was not there. Everything was not, and it's a little wonder that now you find cases of people that are testifying against people like Chris Oboy right now, saying, someone used my ID, my NIN, and claimed I'd received 60 million, but I didn't, and these were so many people in Bukedea. So we do that in 2025.
So maybe something you should elucidate on.
Let me first finish that. We do that in 2025, and we still write to the IGG. I need to cross-check if they responded to us, but it seems the deputy IGG, Patricia, I forget Patricia's second name.
Okiro.
Responded, but I think had asked that we shouldn't make it public. But the response was that I don't know. I need to cross check with Toko, who was doing that correspondence to refresh my memory about it. But the long and short is that nothing was done still. So then recently, when we started the second parliamentary exhibition, I think we started that in, was it May? I think so. Yeah.
End of April, May.
Yeah. So that's when a letter starts circulating from President Museveni, written to the IGG in July 2025. That begs a question. Why does the IGG wait for President Museveni to determine when they start investigating something that we had been saying there's something wrong here for so many years? And that's how now maybe the investigations begin. But then they begin because there's a power struggle that is happening. They don't begin because people actually want to fight corruption. No.
But I don't know if you missed this. I watched an interview of Kawanda saying it was in passing, but me I caught my attention. Was saying that about how many times he has saved a monk, and he says that he includes the marched parliament as one of the occasions where he fought for her, saved her. So is it possible that during those exhibitions, maybe there was also internal, maybe the efforts to hold her to account internally? And
so who is Commander to save a monk? Because you see, that actually is buttressing the point I'm making. And I'm not saying who is Commander to say he's not important. I'm just saying, in a country where we let the law run its course, where we are serious about fighting corruption, no one, not even Museveni, the president, or his son, or Kabanda, should save someone. The issue should be, is there a problem here?
Mm-hmm.
Have we investigated and prosecuted, and has this person been found guilty by a competent court? It shouldn't matter whether he's your friend or she's your friend or she's a threat to you or not. So that's why I'm saying that there's no seriousness about the fight against corruption.
So you would say that the IGG's office is being used or is used by the president conveniently.
Yes.
To play that political,
yes.
Which is also like a politically motivated role or something.
Yes, I would say that. I would say that, and even give you more previous examples of how the Kutesas, how the Kenyas, how the Jim Wezes, how all these cases where the president would write and say, drop this case, and that's what happens. I mean, we are happy for us that in this case the people we have been calling out and exposing are the ones that have found themselves on the wrong side of the powers that be. But that's not how it should be done. I mean, we should fight corruption without fear or favor if we are serious about it, and if we know the implications, the consequences, and what we have lost as a country because of corruption.
There's someone out there watching was, I think, for you, even me who has paid attention to, the corruption and whatnot, perhaps no. But there's someone out there asking themselves, why are staffs of parliament implicated in the corruption? What role did they play? Because one time it's among them, they are saying corruption at parliament, but perhaps you could explain how they were complacent or they enabled the corruption I'm talking about, like the social corporate responsibility money.
Yeah, the staff of parliament that are now in prison and others are still being investigated were all people that were very close to the speaker and Chamu. And that corporate social responsibility money, and that's what tells you that it was illegal in the first place to have a budget line like that, because it wasn't being put on accounts it should be put on. It was being put on the accounts of these people that are in prison right now, on their personal accounts. And what I know is that this money would be withdrawn and brought to the speaker. Of course, the speaker, from what I know about the interrogations and how they went, the speaker denied them and said she doesn't know where they were putting that money. And that's, yes.
Let's rewind a bit.
There's
money allocated for social corporate responsibility. This money, instead of being, for example, channeled to the area where it was supposed to be donated, I hope I'm getting it right, would be sent to personal accounts of members of staff of parliament,
yes,
and who are close to the speaker, and it would pass through the accounts and it would be taken to the speaker.
Yeah,
because I understand that we are flowing properly.
So this money, the corporate social responsibility money, and more money, by the way, that is, that was being picked out of
the budget, the parliament budget,
out of the budgets of other departments, because at the end of the day, it was not only corporate social responsibility money that was being misappropriated. They were even picking money from other departments. For example, people who were in the 11th Parliament will tell you that the last financial year, the last year of that Parliament, there was no money for the field. Mm-hmm. There was no money for committees to go to the field. There was no money for travel. And it's not that money wasn't put in the budget. It's that someone was diverting it. So in this case, this money would be put on Lowell's account, for example. Mm-hmm. And Lowell will withdraw it and bring it to the speaker.
In hard cash?
Yes.
Okay, in whatever form.
Yes. And I was saying that I am, from the interrogations, the information I'm privy to that came out of the interrogations of the IGG, one, I know that everyone said what I'm telling you, that money, they were withdrawing it for the Speaker of Parliament. But the Speaker of Parliament said that
when she was asked about this,
yeah,
she said,
because she was also interrogated at the IGG. She said she doesn't know anything about it. She doesn't know where those guys were getting the money or how they were getting it or what they did with it. Now, it's incumbent on these accused people to show proof that the money was being taken by the speaker. Some, I think, have the proof. There's one of them who said that they should go to the bank she banks with, which is at Forest Mall, and see the CCTV will show that she came with the speaker's security to pick that money. So that's what happened. That's what has put them in trouble. I am sure if they had proof to show that this money, it's the speaker that asked me to receive it, it's the speaker that asked me to withdraw it, and I handed it to her, they would be off the hook. The problem is not many have that proof.
I don't know if there's something like judicial notice, but okay, that the one it was the speaker.
But this person is your boss. Is in gives you orders. You can.
It's hard, yeah. So all the 40 billion, 400 billion we are saying going through those accounts, it's possible that these guys never had a big share of that money. They were just using their accounts just to transfer.
I think from when you see how they have also gotten rich in a short time, it's possible And
Like
you know
a share for being
yeah,
complacent.
yeah, and you know the speaker is among was being said to be the most generous person these people know. So it's possible that they were, you know, giving them a kickback, a cut on it. Look at they were showing Chris Ober's houses and apartments, like big apartments in Chiwanga. Chris Ober was a journalist like us. Before he went there, there's no journalist that, you know, can just easily make
Yeah,
that
but
much
he
money.
has a big budget with comms.
Well, I mean, it's possible. I mean, we leave it to him to show that because you can have a budget with comms, but if there is suspicious money in billions on your account and you can't explain it, there's no way we can say that what you have is out of your budget.
But
in
are these
comms.
the same people who were illegally? Because I think the same talked about illegal recruitments of the human resource at Parliament, or these were just people she won over and they agreed to be complacent.
Some of the people, she found them there. For example, Among found Obore there. Obore was recruited in Parliament in 2015. 2015. It was even before Among ever became an MP. Okema Leonard had been working in Parliament for so long. There are a few on that list that she brought in. She's the one that brought in Adilo.
What of the Rajab?
She's the one that brought in Rajab. She's the one that brought in Adilo. She's the one that brought in, I think, Emmanuel Okwi. I think the rest there, maybe apart from I think Okema and Chris Obore, the others that were mainly getting this money, she's the one that brought them in, and illegally, really. Yeah, we've talked about the illegal recruitment of over 400 people during the 4 or 5 years that she was at the helm. Yeah.
But let's talk more about, because there are many people who say I think there are still government processes, so you would know that most of these things would not have been possible if other institutions were not complacent. Because maybe I would say who approves, maybe because I've also had rumors about Bank of Uganda be issuing this money. So how there's also an issue of microfinance support center. Many people are saying that, you know, most of this corruption could not have been occasioned just by the speaker herself, that it takes other financial institutions to be complacent. Maybe can we talk more about the other institutions that were involved, and perhaps if you think they should also be implicated if the state is serious about corruption?
Absolutely. I think that the impunity of Among was enabled by many institutions, and not just financial institutions. Investigating institutions, the Electoral Commission, and I would say, why? So the Ministry of Finance is really responsible for financial management in this country, and they were never bothered about issues like reallocations in the budget that became you know, a source of corruption in Parliament, in the budgeting cycle, where Parliament would, and by Parliament I mean that leadership would move money from critical areas to other areas where they can get a cut. And, you know, the Ministry of Finance, the Minister, the PSST kept quiet. Bank of Uganda, some of this money would be withdrawn directly from Bank of Uganda, and it's not a rumor. I have put these vouchers also there, where money was directly gotten from Bank of Uganda itself.
How does that work?
And I mean, there's a time I would ask my sources at Bank of Uganda, and they would tell me, now we cannot help because money is received from the basement where there's no CCTV. But a pickup and the speaker's security comes and picks the money.
It was not legal for Bank of Uganda to give money to her. I don't understand.
I mean, it's illegal. That's not how they,
money is supposed to be dispensed.
dispensed. I mean, even for the president to pick money from Bank of Uganda, it's there are supposed to be accounts where money from the consolidated fund goes to accounts that are budgeted for.
So the Bank of Uganda money would be gotten directly to surpass the channel.
That had mainly started after our first exhibition, where they did not now want to, and also, by the way, the people we had exhibited who were receiving money on behalf of the speaker had started refusing to receive it, because even during the first exhibition in 2024, these people were interrogated at CID. So these people now started getting very scared and saying, being hesitant. So that's when now money started being received through Bank of Uganda and the Parliament SACCO. What happened later is that it wasn't put on anyone's account. It was by the Parliament SACCO. They would get it from the Parliament SACCO and give that voucher to the Parliament SACCO to be the one to get money from the consolidated fund. So that's when now Bank of Uganda, I think, came in. But I am sure that even before, when money was being put on accounts, it was Bank of Uganda had a duty to regulate that kind of behavior. So of financial impropriety. So when you go to the investigations arms, the Financial Intelligence Authority, for example, they are questioning Agora because one of the reasons that they are questioning Agora, I think, they said suspicious activity, and Agora and me. So, for example, I was told by my bank, Centenary Bank, that FIA went and said that there's suspicious activity on my account. I think by the time they closed my account, I think I had either 2.7 million Uganda shillings on it, or three, around there. And then I'm asking this lady from the bank, so you, my bank, and FIA, who should know suspicious activity? Because this is just an account that I use to receive my salary. My salary at Agora is not even up to 5 million shillings. And this being Uganda, it's a salary you receive, and by the time the month ends, you have almost depleted the other, So what makes that suspicious? I think the first time I ever had more than 20 million on that account was when people raised money for the March Parliament, and I put it on that account. Thankfully, it was getting finished by the time they froze it. How do you see an account, Agatha's account or Agora's account, which they also closed down when Agora could have had like 12 million as an organization? How do you see that as suspicious activity? But you have no problem with the one Chris Obore receiving 1 billion shillings on his account, or 2 billion, and withdrawing it. You are FIA, you are supposed to.
I think even for regular Ugandans, if you have like 500 million showing up on your account, the first thing.
And this is not even a one-off. This is something that is happening. So you go to CID. What did they do about it? When I talked about the Electoral Commission as well, I wanted us to briefly talk about how Anita Among has been unopposed for all the 3 times I think she has been MP. Someone in the EC makes sure that other people that want to contend against her do not get nominated, or they get disqualified. This is what happened. I wrote about how her rivals were thrown out of the race in 2026, in the 2026 election. So,
did she pay these people? Was she in charge?
Yeah, that's why she was stealing money. That's why she was stealing money, to buy off everyone. That's why actually not just stealing money, but stealing a lot of it, to have everyone on her payroll. The judiciary alone, people that
it looks like everyone was
people that wanted to take her on, and the judiciary did not give them justice. People she fired unlawfully. There's one man who was called Robinson Kawesa. He was forced to to take early retirement because he went to court and, he was told that, that the head of the division was telling everyone not to take that case. And I mean, that's a story for another day, but that's what happened. Everyone was on her beck and call, on her payroll. And, I don't know. Now everyone, of course, is distancing themselves from her, but that's what happened for the last 5 years.
Almost everyone was complacent. Someone was talking about even Parliament. Of course, we know, but
the clerked Parliament. Why are we not talking about the accounting officer of Parliament? Why are you, like jumping at whatever she said or whatever she asks? And you're not asking any questions as the accounting officer. And that's one of the reasons the former accounting officer was shown the exit very premature and disgracefully, because Anita Among just came with this of I can do whatever I want, and she was saying no, there are laws. And they brought for her one that she could just twist and get whatever she wants. And even him, I'm wondering why he has not yet been
arrested or questioned.
Arrested. I think he's been questioned, but why isn't he arrested?
Is there what's of course some these have been arraigned in court, remanded, I think, to Resida, pending. Where do we see this going? Do you think they'll be prosecuted? Do you think Among will be seen in court? I've seen, I don't know if it's Next Media, NBS, which said he would appear in court. He didn't appear.
I think that we wouldn't even be asking that questions if we allowed the law processes, institutions to work. The reason now you're asking is because this is dependent on someone's whims, some person who will say, let them be released, because if that wasn't the case, these people we wouldn't even be talking of a possibility of them walking out of prison. I am saying so because if we had a country where we have the Anti-Corruption Act, the Anti-Money Laundering Act, if they were to explain the billions on the accounts, I do not think they would have an explanation that would leave them innocent. But now we are not sure because we don't know who will intervene, who will beg for mercy, and the mercies or who will not be. Anita Among, as the political head of Parliament, should also be answering these questions before court. But we are not sure because we don't know what Museveni will decide should be done, or his son. Yeah. I mean, for me, as Agatha and us at Agora, we're very happy that we exposed the blood and actually people knew that it wasn't a lie. It wasn't something we are doing out of some vendetta as we're being accused of. What happens after that is out of our hands. And also what happens out of after that will still be that Ugandans know the truth. But we cannot say for sure what will happen. This wouldn't be the first time President Museveni says he has forgiven people before even trial. I mean, we know that the president has a prerogative of mercy, but that's after someone is tried and convicted. But look at what happened to the MPs 2 years ago that were arrested over corruption. Recently, President Museveni said that one of them came to him and repented. I mean, yeah.
Someone was telling me about the politics. These old ministers, they go and cry and sit on his feet and beg for forgiveness.
Yeah. And
he just decides discretionary that he has forgiven them. During the Marched Parliament, during the exhibition, a lot was said about your intentions. Some said, you have a vendetta against the person of the speaker. I think it was Obore, and others were saying you wanted a job. Others, a lot was said. When these people were arraigned in court, of course, I saw a lot of celebration on X, people saying you cashed out. after this, did you at some point feel a sense of relief, feel exonerated? How is there, what was that like for you?
So yeah, a lot was said. What was always the most ridiculous was that I have men I sleep with in Parliament, and I have children with them, and that they are the ones that give me information. And for me, I wouldn't even ask any questions, but to say, okay, so why don't you now interrogate the information, not the people giving it to me? A friend of mine one day called me and said, I saw someone saying that some of these are fathers to your children. And I said, people can be ridiculous. If you had 8 children, we can say that you have many fathers for your children. I mean, how can someone have 2 children and they have like 10 fathers to those children? I mean, my friends there who work there would call me and say, oh my God, someone came here saying they're very sure that this guy is the father of your children or your child. And I said, but I know her. I know the father of her children. And they said, no, you don't know anything. So all that came up. There's a report, I still keep it up to now, where in 2022, after I wrote about the inflated cars that had been procured illegally, ceremonial cars of the speaker and the deputy speaker, that CID officer, Charles Trina, investigated, apparently. And in the report, there was a line, this is Agather Atuhaire wrote this on her ex. We verified that is her account because she opened it with her phone number, which we verified with UCC. That like shows you the surveillance. And then they said Agather Atuhaire has a personal hatred for the institution of Parliament. I mean, how do you even hate an institution of Parliament? So all those accusations were there. Some are official in an official report like that. And then the Obore's allegations that I wanted a job in Parliament. And it's I know that they called me asking me to offer me a job to silence me, and I refused. I applied for a job in Parliament, I think in 2013, before Among was not even in Parliament as an MP. And I have a right to do that as a Ugandan. Obore was not yet even director of, wasn't even working at Parliament. And when I didn't get it, I didn't get it. So I wasn't going to say...
Like any other Ugandan.
Ugandan. When they offered it to me, 10 years later, I think this came in 2023, they called me. Among called me herself. Among sent people to talk to me. They include Rajab Kaya. Rajab Kaya had come with the current MP called Ismail Kasuri, because I knew both Rajab Kaya and Ismail Kasuri from their days in FDC. So how do you turn that around to go and say, that I've refused the job there? Because even if I wanted a job, which I do not want now, I haven't wanted a job in a while. I like what I do where I am. But even if I wanted it, I would never take a job like that, in backdoor way like that. When I wanted it, I applied it in the channels, because the Parliament before Among would actually advertise jobs and call us for interviews and whatever. So all those things were said. I never felt exonerated at all. I think someone feels exonerated if they are bothered. Or if, let's say, the rumors they were saying about me landed me in prison. I would say I knew that what I'm doing is the right thing. I knew that the information I have verified it. And I can tell you that among the people that are now in prison, I knew only 3. Chris Obore, from when he was in the newsroom, who I had met just a couple of times also. Okema, who was my friend. Now, if I was someone who takes things personal, or who, like what we're saying about President Museveni and his son, who will say, this is my friend, you can't touch him, I would have shielded Okema from that, because that I had known him since I started reporting Parliament. If you asked every journalist that has reported Parliament, he was a friendly guy to everyone. Very nice guy. No one can even say, Okema has ever shouted at me or treated me poorly. Boy is an arrogant guy. You can say, stepped on people's toes, and no, that one didn't. But I received information and said, there's nothing I can do for Okema, even if he's my friend. There is information here, just like there was information regarding others. And the other one is Rajab Kaya, who I had met maybe once or twice also from when he was both in FDC and ANT. Never met Anita Amorg, never met Adilo, never met Emmanuel Ki. I don't even know how they look like. I was shocked the other day that I was seeing this guy, or the head of the SACCO, for the first time, seeing a picture of him for the first time. I didn't even know his name. So for me, it was just about, there is information, I have verified its source, its authenticity, and I'm going to share it with Ugandans. So when you like that, do you know what I mean? To be bothered that people go saying, oh, what is your motive? What is your vendetta? Vendetta which was never there. I mean, I cannot have a personal vendetta with Amungu and I've never met Amungu. So sometimes I think if she met me, would she know me? Maybe she would. But
in fact, I've seen a photo and obsessed over it.
Yeah, so because there is a time we wanted to deliver a petition in Parliament over LDC 2021. She was the deputy speaker. And, you know, I was with Joy Roy Muchunguzi. And she just passed and they said she was busy. I left the petition there. So I would never be bothered by that. I wasn't bothered. I just think that what is very helpful for me, for Agora, is that it just increases our credibility in the eyes of Ugandans. I hope we don't let them down, but for now they know that if we wrote something, it is true, it is factual. That's the benefit I had. And yeah, also the feeling like your efforts or the frustrations or the attacks you are subjected to are not in vain. It's a good feeling.
Right now, they are arresting every voice out there, including the Matembe civil society. How does that make you feel about the work that you do? In the sense of, one, of course, is there fear, and is that going to deter you from proceeding to do the work you do? Or does it also make you feel that, you know, the state is unwilling to change, to accommodate progressive voices?
Yeah, the state is unwilling. The state has never been willing. The state has never, I think many states are never willing to accommodate voices, but many states are forced to accommodate their citizens. Forced by the laws, forced by institutions, forced by the citizens. Unfortunately, in our case, there are no institutions that support us to force the state to accommodate us. This Uganda state in particular has never wanted to accommodate dissenting voices. And this is seen in where Kiza Besigye, who has been the leading opposition figure for a long time, is now, or how many times before this he has been arrested, forced into exile, where the current opposition figure, Bobi Wine, is, where, you know, the supporters of NUP are. So it's never been willing, and everyone who goes to speak up against it doesn't do so because they think that it will miraculously now start accepting. They do so because there is nothing else. I mean, there's no option. I always tell people that being silent is not an option. Speak up and maybe something will change. So I will assure you that when Lukwago was taken and treated the way he was, and then Matembe, who was taken together with other two women leaders in the space, Birete and Eunice Musime, everyone was sure I was next. Even I wasn't sure that I am safe. But safety is now a luxury that we cannot afford. At least that feeling. I don't remember the last time I felt safe. And it doesn't matter how you're feeling. It's a conviction that things have to change. And if we do not do anything about it, I don't know what country we're going to live for our children. For us, I think we have given up on ever living in a normal country. I mean, if we were born when this government was here and now we are getting it in our 40s, those who were born when Museveni came, we have had children. Now we start to look at, maybe it will be better for my children, but it will not be better for our children if we do not do something. I've never thought I should be one of those people that just sit and do nothing. And death is going to come. What we fear the most is death, is that these people will kill us, but they will kill us whether directly or indirectly. When we go to hospitals with no medicine, when Chitez is neglected for over a decade and it collapses on people, when roads, and borders unregulated and whatever are knocking people down, and anything in this country can kill you. So I do not see the point in fearing to be killed for saying the truth or speaking up or fighting for a better country.
So we're coming to a close. I'm just going to ask you maybe quickly, second last question. I don't know if it's trivial, but when you were tortured in Tanzania, one of the after effects was your feet, your swollen feet. And I remember Chris Oboy making a mockery of that. A few months down the road, the speaker says her health problem is her feet, swollen feet, and she wants medical attention. I don't know if karma, but someone is in pain and people are calling for maybe her, being thrown out of the country.
Which people?
I saw, was it in
the delegation from Teso?
There's a delegation from Teso and some sympathizers.
I mean, I think for other Ugandans, they don't care. They think that a monk should pay for her transgressions against Ugandans. It's a karma thing. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain that her issues now have to do with.
There are things we didn't talk about here, but there have been. I think it was Okuda talked about people who are killed at her orders.
We also did. When I say actually the investigations we did at Agora about Amongo are like 4 now.
The documentary, yeah.
But we also had done a social media campaign after doing investigations called Stop Abuse of Power, I think. And the person there that was featuring there the most was Anita Amongo. And now during that time we had interviewed a lady called Helen that had run against her and was illegally locked out of the race in 2021. We had interviewed David Omagor. Now, David Omagor is the son of the woman that Okuda, one of the people that were killed, that Okuda writes about.
Omagor's child was killed.
Mother, 74-year-old woman, was killed. He went to the president, talked about this. And not just that, there were so many allegations against her in Okede. And last year, the deputy CDF, Okiding, also raised them before the president, when Amongo was even there, in a meeting that Amongo was in. And Okiding also comes from Bukedea. So there are so many allegations of people that were murdered on her orders. But one we know and where we have interviewed the family member is David Omago's mother. So those stories were there, and Okuda had been thoroughly threatened. I remember the first time when I wrote about the cars in 2022, Okuda was one of the people who said, stay away from that woman, because Okuda had been threatened and, But I said, well, I am not going to stop writing. If I get information about what is happening that is wrong, I'm going to write about it.
I don't know if we're going to have another question about this. So I think we've had this conversation, but I would imagine at the height of Parliament exhibition, how much danger you must have been in, given these threats that were everywhere.
Even now I am. I mean, sometimes you wonder whether she doesn't still have some money stashed away to say, if I'm going down, let me go down with the person that has caused me all this, or any of them, or even who is just picking other people that are saying the same things we say. I mean, I see myself as someone who speaks my mind, just like Matembe. Matembe has been known to do that for forever. Why are you waiting when she's, a 73-year-old woman to treat her like that? I have had some people say that, I think even President Museveni owned up to knowing and I think approving these actions. But my question is, Matembe has criticized you since 2004 when she left the government. How come you have never treated her like that? What has changed? What can we be told as Ugandans to say, this is what you're allowed to say, this is not what you're allowed to say?
The last thing you're going to talk to, and I don't know if it's talk to the president, I don't know if he will listen, or to Ugandans. Despite the work that you do, there's this insistent label of foreign agent. He's even in that nation that address, he still insisted on it. I've seen tweets like, I think even the CDF talked about it. He was channeling out new soldiers. I think that's what they called them, and he was saying, we're fighting corruption and agents. There's a sense that there's a section of people who think that they are patriotic, that they are more Ugandan, not as a result even of their work, but maybe as a form, by being or by identity. They think they are more patriotic than others. What message would you send to Ugandans out there who appreciate the work you do, who want to do the work that you do, and also to the state? Yeah.
Well, I think that I think Ugandans are smart people, and I would just appeal to them to not just take sweeping statements. I tell people, especially on X all the time, that everyone I have put an allegation against, I have come with receipts. If anyone is going to put an allegation against me or other people, let's all adopt to that standard and say, Rawel is an agent of imperialists, a foreign agent. One, because I know there is a document he signed to do this for and on behalf of foreigners. Like Ayebare, who is the minister in this country, we saw a document, him swearing to pay allegiance.
Can you imagine?
We'll talk about that to the US government. No, I think from what I'm saying, the hypocrisy, the double standards. You cannot say that to me, Agatha, who's putting my life on the line, going through everything I go through to fight for a better country. I am not patriotic, but you, just because you worship Butlik, you are a sycophant of power, you are the patriotic one. Just because of that, you're not doing anything for Uganda as a country, for Ugandans as a people, for us to say you're patriotic. That's one. Two, leaders that are doing this, that are stealing from us and taking money to the Seychelles or wherever they keep it, or buying buildings in England, in Dubai, after impoverishing Ugandans, they want to call me Agatha, a foreign agent.
Yeah.
Leaders that are torturing Ugandans. Because there are many categories that are torturing Ugandans, that have disabled them, that have kept Ugandans in prison. You're calling yourself more patriotic than me. That line of agents of foreigners is so tired. If it's because the foreigners have supported the work we are doing, that would make this government the biggest agent of foreigners, because foreigners have supported it all its life. More than 50% of our budget is from foreigners.
I see.
So
even the entire PR at media center and everywhere, they are trying to appeal to foreigners. Whatever we do really is appeal to foreigners' interests.
Yeah, so I would like Ugandans to treat it with the contempt it deserves and not let that blackmail us into silence.
Thank you so much, Agatha. Again, it's always wonderful hosting you here. That's the Agora podcast. Please remember to subscribe so that you and many other people can get access to this conversation. Hopefully, when we talk and you also talk from that side, many of us will be more conscientized and will be willing to participate in the fight to make this country a better place to live in. Thank you.